Alrighty. Well, good morning to everyone. Before I get started, I just want to do a quick introduction to myself. My name is Rocky Lucas. I am a counselor and clinical assistant professor with the Washington State College of Veterinary Medicine. I am new to Washington State. I started working here about the middle of January. I've worked in mental health, licensed as a social worker, both in West Virginia, where I recently moved from, and here in Washington. Yesterday, you had the benefit of getting to see the Director of Counseling and Wellness, Bethany Colapre, do her presentation. And so I'm honored to follow up today. So you get a flavor of vet med the last couple of days. And I'm really excited to be a part of this because it's something that I'm tuning into most days. Really helps me to feel connected to this university that I didn't get quite a chance to immerse myself in enough yet for my own liking. So what we're going to talk about today is the 9 dimensions of wellness, just briefly, with a specific focus on how we can utilize creative wellness right now to kind of boost our mood and reduce our stress. So what is wellness? Wellness can be seen as a balancing act between the demands and challenges from our environment and our resources, or our capacity to deal with those challenges. So I liked this visual representation that it's kind of like a scale. If life's going good and you're not having many stressors, you don't necessarily have to have a lot of coping skills or utilize a lot of those resources during those times in your life. However, when the world's kind of crashing around you, when a lot of things are going wrong, a lot of stress is happening, you really have to have a lot of resources, a lot in your resiliency tank to be able to maintain your balance. And so I think right now with this pandemic, with everything that's going on in our lives, everything that's going on in the lives of our loved ones, the students that we work with, we really need to be able to have access to and utilize those resources and really build up those resources right now. So the 9 dimensions of wellness is a concept that has been around since about 2006. There was a psychologist named Swarbrick, and she came up with 6 of them. So when it first came about 14 years ago in the literature, there were 6 dimensions of wellness. And as we've kind of tweaked it and gotten more specific, kind of the most recent representation is 9 dimensions of wellness. And I take most of this information from Ohio State University, who utilizes that with their campus counseling and with their veterinary med program. So the 9 dimensions of wellness are physical wellness. This consists of adequate sleep, a well-balanced diet, regular exercise, getting your medical checkups, and safe sexual health practices. Spiritual wellness, exploring the human purpose through self-reflection, connection with others, and if you believe in that, a connection to the greater universe or a higher power. Intellectual wellness, which a lot of us, this is important to us because we're either students or we're working at a university, we want to build our careers in this area. It's valuing lifelong learning, critical thinking, moral development, having open-minded worldview, and consistently seeking knowledge. Emotional wellness. A lot of people can, consider this one kind of like wellness overall, but really it's just one component. And emotional wellness doesn't necessarily mean being happy. It doesn't mean being relaxed all the time. It means being able to identify, express, and manage an entire range of emotions and seek assistance as necessary. Environmental wellness, recognizing the connection between nature, mankind, and the individual, and seeking to preserve and protect. So that's keeping your workplace clean, your living space clean, and having appreciation of the earth as a whole. Financial wellness, one that perhaps a lot of us are nervous about right now. It's managing your financial state to include budgeting, saving, and working towards realistic life goals. Those of us who maybe are still okay right now, we can see what's happening, in our country at large right now, the stress over financial wellness and people's uncertainty. That ties right into occupational wellness, seeking a career which will provide personal enrichment and satisfaction and maintain alignment with your goals, values, and passions. Creative wellness, which is the one that we're going to focus on today, seeks to understand the world around them via pursuits related to art, culture, and diversity of experiences. So here in a few minutes, we'll talk about how more specifically we can tap into that right now. And social wellness means having a network of support based on trust, respect, reciprocity, and empathy for the feelings of others. And especially in times like this, the people that we can have access to right now in times of physical distancing are really going to impact our overall well-being. So I absolutely loved the title of this article that I found when I was researching this presentation and the quote that came from it. The title of the article is Now is a great time to make some mediocre art. And I think this is a really good representation of what creative wellness really means. If you're looking to practice your music skills or your cooking or your art or anything along those lines right now, you're probably not going to be world-class at it. Even if you strive, you may only just become average, and that's okay. A quote that was taken directly from this article is from a grief counselor who said, "It doesn't matter what it looks like, we're just here to have fun. But it's so hard for us to tell ourselves that because we look at the word creativity and what you're thinking of as Michelangelo, that's not what being creative is." And so what I had possibly planned to do a couple weeks ago in my daydreams was to play my harmonica today for just like 30 seconds, because for me, creative wellness is taking the harmonica that I got for Christmas and trying to learn how to play it. It's proven to be really difficult. And pretty much I only know how to blow in it now and like change the sounds a little bit. But that's okay. One day I will be a mediocre harmonica player, and that will enrich me to be able to do that. And this article, if you wanted to check it out here, it also included some additional citations from journal articles just highlighting the psychological benefits of creative wellness. Another thing I wanted to share in regards to creative wellness was some information that the Director of Counseling Wellness, Bethany Colapre, compiled. We had done this presentation a couple weeks ago for some of our vet students, and this was some additional information that she had found from an article. So I thought this was just really interesting and really fascinating to get you to think about maybe what's happening in your brain and with your emotions when you're being creative. Did you know that when you immerse yourself in creative outlets and you get lost in the process, maybe time lapses or you're hyper-focused, that you enter a state called flow? Flow is responsible for accessing a different part of your brain. It reduces anxiety, boosts mood, and slows down your heart rate. When you engage in creative, repetitive motions like knitting, drawing, or writing, you activate the flow process because these motions create a specific result. Why is creating that result important? Because your brain gets flooded with dopamine when you evaluate what you've accomplished and what chemical motivates you. Did you know that those of you who play instruments have better connectivity between their left and right brains? And did you know that the more connectivity, the better your cognitive function? So that's one of the reasons why I'm wanting to learn to play the harmonica, so I can keep my own brain cranking really well. And did you know that if you don't have a creative outlet, that you can cultivate one at any time in your life? All it takes is a little curiosity and willingness. So I know a lot of people that I discuss this concept with will tell me, there's nothing I know how to do, and so it's okay. Once again, you don't necessarily have to know how to do it. A friend of mine recently sent me on a whim a sushi making contraption because she knew I like sushi and couldn't go out to get it. So one of my creative wellness things for the next couple things is to create some really ugly yet delicious sushi. So it's just kind of an idea that you guys can think about. So how exactly do we implement creative wellness in our life? Well, it's really important because expressing your emotions through artistic activities can be a great way to relieve stress. As a mental health professional, I know that a lot of people have a difficult time maybe sitting in front of someone and finding the right words to express how they're feeling, to get it all out in that way. It's not a strength for everybody, probably not a strength for a lot of people, but sometimes through just various artistic endeavors, you can find a way to express that emotion, to kind of let it outside of yourself and out into the universe. Focus on activities that interest you, push you, and even ones that you aren't very good at. And that kind of taps into the growth mindset, which is one of our very first Daily Coup Connect presentations. If you're like, okay, I'm going to take what I'm already good at and do it all day, you're going to get bored with that. That's not going to provide you any stimulation. In fact, that's probably going to, cognitively dull you a bit to be doing that. But if you're like, okay, I have no idea how to do this thing, it pushes you. It takes your brain to different places it's not been before. And then once you achieve it, even to the smallest measure, you get those endorphins, that really positive sense going through your body. So for me, I've never blown into a harmonica until 2 weeks ago. So the fact that I can create little differences in the sounds is really pleasurable for me. And I've never made my own sushi before. So whatever it looks like when it comes out of this contraption, it's going to be really, really interesting and fun for me. It's going to be something that's going to be putting me in a growth mindset of wanting to really learn to do well at both of those things that I'm not naturally good at. If you struggle with identifying a creative pursuit, try out a new skill. So whether it's online music lessons, online drawing lessons, etc. One of the things that I've implemented during this time is some online yoga. I have taken in-person yoga classes before. I have my yoga mat, but there's certain movements that I've never been able to do. And so there's something, I think it's called the crow pose, where you're kind of like on your elbows floating in the air. And so I've been able to capture that one for like 4 or 5 seconds at a time through utilizing the online yoga stuff. And so I'm excited to get back in a classroom and show that to somebody as soon as I have that opportunity again. And creativity means more than just art. You know, people think, you know, do I paint? Do I draw? It's more than that. It can include gardening, cooking, redecorating your living space. I had a friend of mine that I was Zooming with the other night that was like, hey, look at my living room. I moved around the furniture, and she was just like in the best mood. She felt like she was a fancy interior designer just because she moved her furniture around. But that's just a really good example of, you know, you don't have to be a world-class interior designer to be able to benefit from creativity. You know, she was able to do that just with her own space, what was, you know, in her own, you know, accessible to her. So with that, I was just wondering, I was wanting to open it up to the group if there's any other ideas that you guys have, because I want you guys to share. You can either verbally share or put it into the chat, just some things that you're doing right now to help with creative wellness, or some of the things that you think you might do. I've heard a lot of people talk about the sourdough starter kit. I've thought about that myself. I try not to eat too much bread, but if I'm going to eat bread, like homemade bread sounds really good right now. Crocheting, that's cool. Gardening, that's one. I wish I had a garden. Reloading the gun range. I went shooting one time in my life. It was very anxiety inducing. I might try it again at some point. So I really like a lot of these. Yeah, ukulele, that's another one if I can ever get the harmonica down. So I want you guys to just kind of take a look at this chat, all the stuff that people are putting in here. So, you know, to read all of them, I'm getting a little bit behind, but I think there's just some really excellent ideas here. You know, I'd mentioned earlier in the PowerPoint that sometimes we may find ourselves stuck with, you know, what am I going to do? I'm not sure what sounds boring or what sounds fun, what's accessible to me. Sounds like there's a whole lot of ideas here. Foreign language movies. I think I saw a movie called Amélie once. That had the French subtitles. It was really awesome. It was kind of life-changing for me from an emotional perspective. So I really want you guys to think about ways today in which you can implement creative wellness into your everyday life, because, you know, unfortunately we have more, you know, a lot of times we have more time now to do that. But let's take advantage of that. Let it be silly. You know, if there's ever something that interested you and that you just never had the time to, with just the ebb and flow of what our regular lives were, think about something that you might finally dig into right now. So I want to thank every single one of you for popping in today and participating in this presentation. If you have any additional questions, I will stick around for a couple more minutes, so you can go ahead and put them in the chat, and I'll try to get back with you to answer those. So, all righty, thank you guys very much.